So I just finished watching the latest episode of Star Wars The Acolyte. The episode is episode 5, Night. Hey, I was right about something. If you had watched my previous review, you would know I predicted the episode's title for this week was going to be Night, because last episode was Day, so it kind of made sense. And there was another thing I was right about, but before that, I will let you know I will be talking about spoilers in this video, this review. So if you would like to avoid spoilers, I released my spoiler-free review earlier today. It will be linked in the description and in the cards. So before I talk about that one thing I was also correct about, we need to set the premise, set the scene. The Jedi and the mysterious figure who many people online have started calling either Smiler Ren or Darth Teeth. I like Darth Teeth better. Big fight, all that, and whew, Yor gets injured, all the Jedi go down. Every Jedi goes down at least once before, yeah. And in the initial scuffle, most of the unnamed Jedi, they were just to show off the power of Darth Teeth, obviously. Though Darth Teeth does do this pretty sick move where he stabs one Jedi, then pushes the, or not push, pulls another Jedi into the saber while still stabbing that first Jedi. Brutal. And another thing I noticed, more than once in this episode, a Jedi's lightsaber fails. I can recall at least 3 distinct examples of that. Maybe that's reflective of lightsaber technology not being as refined, or is it reflective of the fact that, there is problems within the Jedi Order, the fact that their weapon, their symbol of lightness, if you will, does fail them on occasion. Maybe that does something, or maybe they just thought it was a cool way to choreograph the fight, which it is. Both could be true as well. And then Yoda, he actually gets injured, and Sol orders him and May to get back to the ship. Yeah, May doesn't want to do that, and this is something to note real quick. Sol senses something familiar about Darth Teeth. He doesn't know who he is, but he does sense something familiar. During all this is happening, Sol's Padawan Jackie is confronting May. I think I might have accidentally said Osha, said May earlier when I meant to say Osha. Well, they're twins after all, but very different. And I got stuff to say about that as well, but Jackie confronts May and successfully handcuffs her after a bit of a struggle. And then Darth Teeth shows up. I was so nervous for Jackie during this entire fight. And she did pretty well. Her lightsaber failed her once, but because she had Master Tanaka, the Wookiee's Jedi lightsaber, which she took off of May, thinking May had killed Tanaka and stolen his lightsaber, so she dual wields against Darth Teeth. And for Padawan, she holds off pretty well. She did probably better against Darth Teeth than anyone else in the fight except for Master Sol. Well, makes sense. She is his Padawan, but yeah, I was like, when is she going to get killed? When is she going to get killed? And the thing is, she successfully unmasks Darth Teeth, but they very cleverly delayed us seeing who that is for a few things longer with the framing of her body. And I say her body because, yeah, there ends up being 3 lightsaber wounds in her chest. So, I don't know, because she's half human, half Saiyan, so I don't know where her heart is, but left or right side for her heart, yep, both gun and a stomach wound. Yeah, and she doesn't get immediate medical attention and definitely a heart wound. Yeah, that's not that survivable, not at all. I had a feeling as soon as she engaged Darth Teeth, she was done for. The fact that she was fighting May at first was like, okay, there's a chance she's going to survive. She's going to arrest May and she's going to drag May back to the ship. And then Darth Teeth showed up and was like, ugh. And I was shocked at how well she held off. Well, eventually, May calls out to Osha using the Force. May is clearly more in tune with the Force than Osha is. And Osha convinces Yod to come back with her so they can, confront and save everyone. Well, there's only 2 people left to save. May and Master Sol. And they do arrive, and Yod does not last long. Not at all. I honestly expected him to. The thing is, Jackie lasts longer than Yod did. Yes, Yod lasted longer timeline-wise, but in terms of length of fight, she was in the fight much longer than he was, and he had a period of rest. Yes, he was still wounded, but He had the period arrest and he didn't make it. I was shocked and how brutal his death was. Yes, Jackie's death was brutal as well, but it was lightsaber wounds. The old got a snap to the neck. Ooh, tough. I really should have put a content warning at the beginning of this review. And I should now talk about who Darth Teeth is. I've avoided it just like they did in the film using like cyber blocking. It's Camille. I was right. I was right about that. It is the obvious choice, no doubt about that, but it makes sense. May didn't know, and I think So only had a brief sense like, this is a familiar princess, where did I hear it before? And at one point there's actually a conversation where So asks Camille, does he think he's going to get away with this? And he said, well, I was wearing a mask, which I thought was it's like a lampshade. By the way, I think his mask might be made of Beskar based off of the sound he uses. And I think he might even have some Beskar gauntlets. But that's just a side tangent. It's like, he made that joke, so basically he was wearing a mask and that anyone who sees his face will be killed. Yeah. Well, the thing is, that doesn't quite work out, but Osha has a plan. Because of the creatures on the planet that are attracted to light, she does have to sacrifice her droid, but latches the droid onto Camille's back, and with the light on, and those creatures just take Camille away. And then she and her sister have a fight, and her sister eventually gets the upper hand. But first, Osha stuns May. That happens. And then there's a little more of a fight with Darth Teeth, with Camille now, I should say. And then So is saying he'll explain what actually happened. And then he's stunned by May. And the thing is, we really need to hear from So. We saw Osha's perspective. We know May has a totally different perspective that we didn't see. She clearly blames the Jedi for everything that happened. I'm still under the impression that there's some kind of major misunderstanding that happened during that event back when May and Osha were children. Something went out of control. And I think once they all communicate about what happened, they might be able to piece a more cohesive picture, because I think they're all missing some key information. I think Camille might be the only one who knows, but he's not going to tell us the truth. He obviously, I think, was manipulating May, and now he has an opportunity to manipulate Osha. Because, yeah, May and Osha, like I said, had a fight, and May eventually gets the upper hand, knocks Osha out. There's a callback, by the way, to when who I'm looking for is when they were kids and how Osha just couldn't block, and May cuts her hair and switches clothes with Osha. Man, they're twins, and I'm getting their names mixed up. I had a feeling something like that was going on after the scene. Like, that's not Osha. It's just not. And the thing is, she's probably clever hiding those marks she has on her head. But there's a big conversation between the two. And the thing is, when they were children, May was the one who was always following their family, their coven's wishes, desires. That's what May wanted. But Osha didn't want that. And still, Osha, she can accept. I think she can accept that she may have different paths, but May just cannot. She even uses a line that Anakin used in Revenge of the Sith on Mustafar. Basically, she literally, almost word for word, and let's just recap with the scene in Revenge of the Sith where between Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Padme, though Padme is now unconscious, where Anakin screams at Obi-Wan, "You turned her against me." And May very much says to Osha, "The Jedi turned you against me." Almost the same words. And the thing is, we saw May's perspective. We saw Osha's perspective early on, and it's clear before we even see a single Jedi that when they were kids that she did not necessarily want the same things as her sister. And I think that all led to whatever happened, but we're still missing some key information. But I think it's interesting to note how they use that same language. There's going to be people online who's going to say that the Jedi totally in the wrong, Darth Teeth is correct, everything Camille is saying is correct, blah, blah, blah. And that's kind of like the same people who thought what Kylo said in The Last Jedi was the message of the film, let the past die, kill it if you have to. No, that's not the message. Now, yes, sometimes you need to move on with the past, accept that happened, and move on. But the thing is that sometimes characters say things that are not accurate in film, in television. I thought that was an obvious thing, but I do want to get that out there. But the fact that they borrowed lines from Anakin, very much the same lines, is like, that should get us to think. Osha and May both have different takes on that event that night. May obviously has had her perspective twisted to the point that she thinks any counter perspective to what happened between her and her sister must be manipulation that impacts how Osha is thinking. But if May just saw back, like, wait, Osha was like this before the Jedi even showed up, and May's not thinking that. But like I said, because of the switch places, which by the way, Basil, I don't think I talked about him in the last review, but he's going to notice that there's a difference, and I think so, but I think there might be a difference as well. He might sense something. I think he definitely might, and he might even though pretend he doesn't, and then tell May his experience on that night, and then that could get May to think, because now Osha is in the accompaniment of Camille. He survived, go figure, and I think there could be something really interesting going on. There were a series that the sisters were going to switch places, which, yeah, that definitely happened. But only one, I think, is going to be switching places willingly, and maybe she'll have a change of heart, maybe not. But the thing is, Camille, he's now going to be manipulating Osha, saying the Jedi abandoned her and a bunch of things to get her to turn against the Jedi. It's going to be the Sith MO. He doesn't quite call himself a Sith, but there is a conversation where Soul asks Camille, what is he? Who is he? And he says, well, I don't have to call myself anything, but your Jedi might call me a Sith. Which I think is interesting. He doesn't say he is a Sith. He says the Jedi are calling him a Sith. And I do think he's a good chance that he's a Sith apprentice. Because he's talking about he wanting an acolyte for himself to do what he wants. Like he says, the Jedi won't allow me to do what I want. Basically, he's also saying he's an anarchist. He doesn't care that what he wants will end up killing a bunch of other people. It's what he wants, therefore it's what it is. Which is also very much a Sith mentality. But I think if he is actually a Sith, he's probably now the Sith apprentice, and he wants an acolyte to train to become his essentially secret apprentice so he can overthrow his Sith master. Which would make sense. Dooku was going to do that with Asajj at some point if Sidious hadn't ordered Dooku to kill Asajj. I think we can all agree with that. Vader did that in Legends with Starkiller. It's probably Palpatine was going to do that with Maul too. Back when Plagueis was still alive. At least, we're assuming Plagueis is real in canon. Hard to say. But I do think with the way this said things is definitely very much interesting and can set some really interesting things going. The fact that Camille never called himself a Sith, just said the Jedi might call him one. Now, who knows how Soul reported that, but considering Ki-Adi-Mundi thinks the Sith are extinct, if, Soul reports back that, yeah, we engaged a dark side force user on that planet. When I asked what he said he was, he said, you guys might call me a Sith, but he didn't quite claim he was. But the fact is, when he said he wants to do what he wants, right? He's doing all that. Yes, he blames the Jedi and their rules, and probably also the Republic's rules. But I think he's also suddenly thinking of his master in the background too. But again, we don't know all the details, but that's what I think is going on. I think I talked about everything in this episode that is really important, so let's recap. Bunch of Jedi died. Some Jedi did really well. The truths of what happened on the night when Osha was taken by the Jedi are still in the dark. We still don't know quite what happened. We know Darth Teeth is Camille. We know that Osha and May have now switched places, at least in where they're physically being, with May pretending to be Osha and Basil probably being the key to reveal that secret, and the fact that May literally, I guess in this case it would be foreshadowing things that already have happened, that we know have already happened, with her dialogue about May being turned, with Osha being turned against her. But again, I think that's very much note, and how very much Camille wants freedom, and like total freedom, definitely an anarchy for himself. But notice that he doesn't extend the same freedom of choice to May. Just a little thing to take a note of. I think that's really everything. Oh, and one last thing, just to recap, he did not call himself a Sith. He said the Jedi would call him a Sith. And I think Soul is smart enough to tell the Jedi that this guy said we will call him a Sith, but he never called himself a Sith. I think Soul is smart enough to realize that. Also, Soul did nearly give in to his anger in that fight, but Osha was the one to stop him. And yeah, that is something interesting to note. Both Camille and Soul have a darkness within them. Soul is able to let go of his darkness. Yes, in this scene he needed some reminders, but he was able to let go. Camille, he just feeds on it. But that is truly all I got for today. I hope you enjoyed my review. I would love to hear your thoughts on the episode in the comment section down below. And of course, may the Force be with you always. Thank you for watching my video. I do hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please be sure to give this video a like and share. Also, consider subscribing to my channel to stay up to date on all my latest content. You can also stay up to date on my content by following me on social media. I have a link tree down in the description which has all my social media links on it. Additionally, if you would like to support the channel, you can become a channel member and get early access to all my videos. In the meantime, thank you for watching, and as always, have a good day, a good night, wherever you are. May the Force be with you always.